Yeah, we get one person a day.
There's somebody on YouTube right now.
What?
There's somebody on YouTube.
Usually, yeah.
Hi, YouTuber.
HFC Magic 95 assumes no responsibility for its content, and the Wade and Carter Show has no responsibilities for their opinions and guests on their show.
Hurricane Laura relief, how you can help. We'll talk COVID. Joe Biden with an incoherent ramble. Sheriff AJ Louderback joins us. All that and a whole lot more coming up on today's Wade and Carter Show.
A minute early.
Sorry. Not according to that.
That's Mexican time.
It's official time.
That's magic time.
That's the station time.
Wow.
Taking me back to junior high band days.
Wow. Good morning, folks.
How are you? Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Let's do this.
Wade and Carter weather brought to you by our good friends at Deerland Feed. For everything you need, there's Deerland Feed. Seeds, pesticides, fencing, fence posts.
Cheryl and I were talking fencing yesterday. She's like, what's the difference between a galvanized fence T-post and a painted T-post? I said, the galvanized T-post will last longer.
And that's where I guess Dawn and I are just more like newlyweds. We very rarely do we sit around and talk fencing. If we're talking fencing, she's handing me in a P and we sword fight. But that's, and most of our sword fighting doesn't involve fencing. Anyway, Deerland Feed.
Sword fighting growing up was if Dawn can sword fight, yeah, that's
don't cross the streams. 84 degrees in Victoria, heading today to a high of 98. Now here's the deal: it's cloudy, and it's going to get windy. That's it.
I thought it was windy.
Supposed to get windy.
I thought we had a heat advisory in effect.
Probably.
Yeah,
Dawn just said there's no sound on our show. How about now? Is that better?
That might be the text.
That was some of the best stuff we've ever done.
Darn it.
I don't know. Go to Facebook and let's see if people can hear us.
Well, that's a good idea. I didn't even think to go.
I know you did. That's why you're the producer.
That's why. I'm extraordinary.
No, you're extraordinary. You don't think there's any chance you turn down the iRig all the way to zero?
I think it might be.
Folks, we're working here through technical difficulties, and was it down? Oh, it's good.
There,
it's all good. Working. All right, it's working. Sorry, folks, we didn't have that plugged in. Anyway, Deerland Feed, we did a great bit for them.
Yeah, we did.
Sorry, Lacey. 84 degrees into a high today of 98.
For everything you need.
Windy. There's Deerland Feed. That's right. It's going to be windy and cloudy.
So Sheriff Louderback's going to join us.
He is. Lots to discuss with the sheriff. We've talked about Jacob Blake. We've talked about
Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah,
which you said he wanted to come in and talk about. Let's before we get all that, James, let me find this. Now, see if we can hear this.
Can you do it?
Yeah.
I know you're struggling today. It's okay.
100 years. Look, here's
start it over.
COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, it's taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. I mean, think about it. More lives this year than any other year for the past 100 years.
That guy
has taken this year, just since the outbreak, it's taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. I mean, think about it.
Yeah. Thanks,
More
Joe.
lives this year than any other year for the past 100 years.
That guy is such an idiot. It's not an idiot, folks. It's not fair. You don't make fun of folks with special needs, and you don't make fun of folks who have dementia. But you don't put your head in the sand and give the guy with dementia the ability to put his hand on half of the atomic code.
Because he's a Trojan horse.
He is a complete buffoon.
And the folks that are allowing this to happen are soulless, heartless,
Oh,
and
Un-American.
absolutely have
Un-American.
no compassion for Joe Biden at all.
no, they're using him. They're trotting him out there. He is absolutely unfit for office. Absolutely. And don't come back to me with, oh, well, so is Donald Trump. I mean, he's a racist. The point is, Joe Biden is a Trojan horse. It's just for him to open up and let Kamala out. I got to ask you, even if you're a leftist Democrat, you're going from Biden to Bernie to Hillary to Elizabeth Warren, and somehow you're going to accept Kamala Harris as your president about January the 21st? Come on, people.
They might give him a week so he can enjoy eating breakfast in the Rose Garden and take some pictures. And
It is
so he'll
unbelievable.
have memories he won't remember.
There's no doubt his family has no shame. Of course, his son's probably high, but he's got no shame about drag. What he was trying to say is just this year, COVID has taken more American lives than any other issue in the past 100 years, which, by the way, would be incorrect on its own. You see yesterday where the CDC came out and said that of the 150,000 lives attributable, that COVID is attributable to, and this is the CDC, folks. This is not a pro-Trump organization. Only 6.5% are what they would actually call COVID deaths. That's 10,000 people.
Well, the only ones that have died from just COVID.
Right. I mean, yeah, if you get COVID, this is like saying the guy that's got stage 4 cancer dies of pneumonia.
No.
He died of pneumonia. No, he died of cancer. He couldn't get up and move around and beat the pneumonia. That's the reality. Take an issue with that analogy.
In some cases, but
What
if
are you,
you're-
a
if you're-
doctor?
if you're living your life with 2 comorbidities
Right?
and the COVID gets you, the COVID pretty much had a good shot.
Put you over the
Now I
top
sound like Joe Biden.
Right.
The
Well,
COVID puts you
more
over the top.
than any other.
If COVID doesn't come along, you're not dropping dead because of the 2 comorbidities you lived with for the last 20 years.
Right, but if you're the slowest wildebeest on the desert and the crocodile gets you, did you die from the gimpy leg or because the crocodile got you?
As a result of the gimpy leg.
Right. The gimpy leg wildebeest is called the Big Mac of the Serengeti. That's just the way it is. We all want to be animals. We all want to get with PETA and be one with nature. Kumbaya. A little Darwinism comes in and everybody freaks out. If you're old, if you're sick, if you have a comorbidity, avoid COVID. For the rest of us, I'm sorry, folks. The pandemic is basically over. I'm sorry. Look at today's paper. Go look at 16 new cases.
Well, from that standpoint, the media has moved on.
The media has moved on. Don't get me wrong.
For the next, it'll rear its head in
I
3
think
weeks
you're right. You're
because what's happening right now?
Well,
Schools
right now
are
we're
going
in that little
back.
lull. Schools are going. They're trying to
Labor Day
decide what
weekend's
football-
coming up.
Oh yeah.
NFL season's just around the corner. Where they're still, some are saying they're going to have fans, some say they're not. College football's trying to kick off.
But then when we get right back into the stretch run right before that election, oh, there's a spike of COVID,
Yeah.
and this is still Donald Trump's fault. And Joe Biden will be saying, cover relief. Me and Camaro over here, Camaro Henderson, my running mate,
In the Daytona 500.
we're both running for Senate. Folks, there's no way. I challenge anybody. Now, don't get me wrong. We had a very nice caller. Good morning, ma'am. And I know she's listening. Good morning. She called a week ago and said, you guys get off Joe Biden. Okay, get on Joe Biden with me. If you believe, if you understood what that guy was trying to say, I want you to call me.
You did because you broke it down for us.
Well, I'm trying to bail the guy out. 47 years in Washington.
Yeah.
We got
Look at
more-
the messes created.
47 years in Washington. We got more done in 2 weeks with a radio program right here in Victoria, Texas. You see my water plant?
Yeah.
Come on.
Beautifying it.
Come on. Talk me up there for a minute about my water plant.
Yeah. Squeaky wheel got the grease.
That's what I'm talking about. Folks, I invite you to drive
Concrete
by.
curbs. I think you suggested that
There's
instead
a
of
nice oleander hedge out there now. I encourage
Pressure
you to
wash
drive
those
by the
water tanks.
Wade and Carter water station at the corner of Airline and Ben Jordan. We're going to try to get it renamed. Right now, it's the exciting name of water station number 3. Water station number 3. We like to call it the Wade and Carter station.
I don't know why they do that. Is that because is that sort of
So
trying to
later-
pay tribute to like cities like New York where you have so many fire stations you have to number
I
them?
went to public
You
school at
couldn't just-
51.
You couldn't just call it the Ben Jordan Water Station. Everybody would know where it'd be, right?
Right, you can't do that.
The Miori Fire Station. Everybody knows where that one's going to be.
You may have to name it after somebody else later. We've gotten to the point now in this country where we
Or
name
number
things after
later.
victims.
What else
yeah.
did Joe Biden say that I thought might resonate with our listeners yesterday as he was in
Where was he?
Western Pennsylvania? Said he-
know? Did you know? he was there?
I don't know. Well, he must have, at least for this point. But he said he was going to not get rid of fracking. Said Donald Trump is a liar, but I have a hard time believing him because he's jumped hardcore into bed with AOC and the squad and the Green New Deal and the Bernie Sanders and all the Bernie bros. And the Green New Deal will eliminate oil and gas from this country. There's no getting around that. And maybe Joe Biden is correct. He will not get rid of fracking because he will not survive his term long enough
He won't, folks.
that whoever comes behind him can then get rid of fracking, and Joe Biden would have kept his promise to not get rid of fracking.
If I had 20 minutes, I could dream up for you a bit about the Joe Biden State of the Union address. It would just be hilarity. The guy is incoherent, and it doesn't make him a bad guy. I mean,
No, he's got some issues.
He's
And
got
like
some
we said at the top of
definite-
the show,
health issues.
the folks that the George Soros, the money behind him, that used all their power and influence to resurrect a dead horse as they headed into the final turn and got everybody else to drop out of that race.
They're just courting him right now. They're going,
I mean,
come on,
that's-
come on, hold it together, Joe. Hold it together, Joe. Don't talk to the media, Joe.
And he hasn't, but then he can't avoid it because they have to answer the accusations that he's hiding out in the basement.
Are we back?
That was
earlier.
Yeah. We didn't get to say good morning to everybody.
Say
Matt
hi to
O'Shea,
everybody.
good morning. Brent Anderson,
Zip.
Jeremy Pena, David Glass,
Who's checking?
Patrick
in?
Strauss checking in from Angel,
Angel
Fire,
Fire,
New
New
Mexico.
Mexico. Beautiful place. We're big.
Karen Webb, Marvin Mickish,
McCool.
Robin Moore Knipling, C.W. Bean, Lisa Poole, Michael Jolly, Amanda Blaschke,
The good
Jeff
news is
Fonseca,
we didn't
Clayton
say
Helt.
anything, Clayton. We didn't say anything really good while the sound was
No.
off. We didn't talk about SCT building systems. I'll do that right quick. You can call Clayton Helt right now, 564-8864. He'll answer. You want to build a metal building, a lean-to, a barn dominium, he shed, she
Covered
said,
patio,
covered patio,
carport,
anything.
storage shed.
Pavilion.
Ooh,
How about that? 3 syllables, no waiting. 564-8864. If it's steel and you can clad it with corrugated or put a veneer on it, go ahead.
no, I
You
was
just
just
said
trying,
something
no, I was
smart.
trying to figure out my
564-8864. That's SCT building system.
charades. What was
They
that? What was
also-
the syllable sign?
Sounds like 2 syllables.
That's it. That was it.
They, of course, when I do that, people come running in from the bully.
Yeah.
Clayton can help your dreams come true. No kidding. And Casey will help you with the design of your location. I mean, which people don't think about this, and this is where Clayton shines. You're out on a piece of property. It doesn't have to face the street, right? You can shift it so that in the afternoon you've got cover from this, portico. I mean, he's got the whole deal where he can make your home extremely livable. Allen's Rigger Service, 578-6300. I talked to Janet Miller yesterday. She said to tell you hi.
I haven't seen Janet for a while.
Well, she said that she's noticed that your cars are running fairly well. If
They are.
your cars don't run, if you need to tow somewhere, if you need to get a vehicle from point A to point B, 578-6300. That's Allen's Rigger Service. The VCS companies, Rocket Oilfield Services, and the only locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer, all belong to the Hartman family. Blowing and going and growing, whether you need surround sound, surveillance, security systems, alarms, smoke detectors, fire suppression, it goes on and on. If you need it, call the VCS companies first. If they don't have it, they'll direct you where you need to be. Now, we're going to direct you now to a 100-year-old friend of ours, not Bobby Leon. He's not 100
years old.
But Chesnick Furniture Company at the corner of 116
West Wanland.
Wanland and Bridge, the corner of Wanland and Bridge, 116 West Wanland in downtown Victoria, where it's always sunny. Chesnick and Love make your house a home, and you will just do better at Chesnick. 50% off all furniture, celebrating 100 years. So there you have it. We're going to be joined in a few minutes by Sheriff Louderback. We encourage your calls, folks. 575-9509. We're going to have Sheriff Louderback come in and talk about, we're going to talk about what happened with that Jacob Blake kid. We're talking about your
Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yep.
Yeah, well, and everything else. And then I thought an interesting one yesterday. You and I had a little bit of debate on a
Did I win?
jogger in San Antonio. No, I think we came out on different sides of it, but I don't think either one of us was wrong.
Okay, what happened?
Jogger in San Antonio stopped by police last week. They asked him his name for ID. He refused to do it.
Wait, was he a black man?
Yep.
Changes everything now. Changes everything. If the skin color changes everything. Okay, go ahead. Black man jogging.
He apparently met the description of somebody who was wanted for domestic abuse or assault, right?
So police had visited with a woman who said that a man choked her. They're driving the perimeter and they see a guy that they suspect could be the perpetrator. Am I right? So they pull him over to talk to him. And what happens?
Two police officers.
Happens that he's a black man. We'll get to the other little side of that.
They ask him for his name. He refuses to give his name.
I don't have to. Now think about these times we're living in, folks. You're a law-abiding guy, right? Police pull over. Hey, bud, what's your name? According to the Constitution, I don't have to tell you my name. So he didn't tell him his name. I'm exercising my right. Am I being detained? Does this sound like that smart guy you know? I don't have to tell you my name, officer. So they cuff him because they have suspicious activity in the area. Now, what happened?
Well, then that's the part that gets a little murky. And they haven't released the body cam footage, which they will, I think, today.
They claim, though, they had some technical difficulties.
Yeah.
I'm not buying that either.
I'm not buying that
I
either.
ain't buying technical difficulties on the body cam. So
that'll be released, I think, today, because I didn't see it released yesterday.
But allegedly,
then things got heated.
He's mad because he didn't do anything, and he's handcuffed.
And then now he's facing two charges of assaulting police officers.
Supposedly, when they said, well, you know what? If you're not going to tell me who you are, so I can call this woman and find out if you're the guy, what I'm going to do is put you in this police car and take you downtown. Now, that seems reasonable to me. You may have the right to not tell them your name, but they may have the duty to detain you until they figure out if you're the guy that choked this woman.
Tomko says the footage hasn't come back from editing yet.
So when they put the dude in the back of the car,
H.R. Mallory says the clothing description matched up.
Apparently he kicked at officers, striking one in the face. Now, they didn't shoot him. And here's the little caveat for all of you liberals out there. One of the officers was black
as well.
So don't give me a bunch of racism issues. He wasn't profiled. He looked like the guy. He had the clothes on that looked like the guy. Turns out he's an insurance adjuster
Wasn't the guy.
Wasn't the guy. But I'm an insurance agent. I'm not the guy. Stop. Yes, sir. There was a woman assaulted in this area. Do you know her? No, sir, I don't. What's your name? I'm Brent Carter, sir. Hang on right here. We're going to call her. Hey, this guy says his name is, do you have any identification? Yes, sir. He says his name is Brent Carter. Is that the guy that did it? Nope. Okay, sir, you're free to go. Thanks, officer. What did I just give up all my civil rights, or did I acquiesce a little for the good of society to make sure that I don't get cuffed and beat up in the back of a police car?
Could they not have even gotten that far? Okay, you won't give us your name. I need to take a picture of you. Send it to the woman. Ask her, is this the guy that assaulted you?
We'll have to ask the sheriff if that's legal.
Is that
that's evidence. I don't know. Can you do that without a lawyer? She could say that's him, and now he's been framed.
Well, if she was going to say it was him, she would have said it was him when they called her to identify him, and it wasn't him.
Solid
right?
point. The fact of the matter is, Steve Kidder says, I don't carry ID when I run other than a dog tag. But Stephen.
But you know your name. You're not Joe Biden.
Steve Kidder also says, I thought that first kick in the face was a freebie. I mean, folks, in general, if you want your day to go well, if it's a question you know the answer to and an officer asks you a question, just answer it. Now, some of you out there
Someone's like,
probably
well, there was no
upset.
probable cause. Well, I don't know. You had a woman claim she was chafed in the neighborhood. Choked in the neighborhood,
I thought
and
chafed was some Canadian word you were going to use.
might have been. I meant
She got chafed, man. I chafed her. I thought you were throwing out some Canadian street
prison lingo,
street cred stuff from back when you were a little gangster, a little Russian mob gangster in Canada.
But I understand he's got his right. But I'm reasonable suspicion is all you need. H.R. Mallory. I see that, but
this is like the guy that decides he's got the right of way, so he walks out in front of a bus and gets hit and gets killed. But by golly, he had the right of way. Okay, but you're still dead. I'm going to tell you something else.
So what was the guy hiding? You think maybe there was a warrant for unpaid tickets or something?
Maybe he had a little Sancho over on that side of San Antonio, and he was just over there for a little visit and didn't want somebody to know that he was on that side of town. The easiest way to clear that up is to go, hey, here's my hands. I know these are crazy times. My name is Brent Carter. I'm not doing anything inappropriate here. Hold on, Mr. Carter. Don't move. Just stand over there against the wall. Keep your hands where we can see them. Yes, sir, officer. Any way I can help. I hope you catch the bad guy.
Michael Jolie says people want to be a victim. That's why it keeps happening.
That's right. And you know what? And then on the other hand,
here's why. Cha-ching.
That's right. He'll get a book deal. I've also told Ash, if I were a police chief, I would have to tell people every day, most important thing you do is make it home from your shift. Please don't shoot anybody today. Please, can we just get through September without killing somebody?
Greg Garcia says, if you didn't do anything wrong, just cooperate. It's that simple.
And
it is that simple.
Almost your duty, or do you want to? I always hated those people. I hated them when I lived in the valley. They'd pull up and put their window down that far. Are you a U.S. citizen? Am I being detained? Yes, under the idea that you might just be a jackass. You're being detained. Now pull over there. Oh, look at the dog kind of goes, huh? Oh, yeah, the dog keyed on your car. People drive me nuts. Cooperate with law enforcement.
Good morning, Wade and Carter. Good. How are you?
Good. See, no, I did not say that. Ash had asked, what if they would have taken a photograph of that guy and sent it to the woman
to say, hey, is this the guy you're looking for?
I'm not sure that that's copacetic because I don't know what rights you're giving up there when you do that. And it just seems kind of like I don't think that a typical law enforcement officer is going to say, well, hold still, let me take your picture. Because then if she IDs you and you're set up somehow, I mean, you didn't even do anything and you've got no representation. Right. Sure.
Any crime or whatever,
Right.
it needs to be state law that report is then destroyed. Because what happens is every time you make contact with a police officer, that goes down on your record, and every time they pull your identification, it shows you've had 34 contacts with police officers or whatever, even though every one of them could be innocent. It shows up on there, and it automatically heightens it automatically heightens emotions. It automatically causes problems for the person that is being detained. And quite frankly, it's a violation of due process. You want to get right down to it because you have not committed a crime, yet all you've been is you've been contacted by law enforcement, and it automatically puts an onus if you haven't somehow been guilty of something. So I would say instead of Texas, what we need to do is say, look, if you make contact, if the law enforcement makes contact with you, and there's no crime that's linked to you, you're not guilty of any behavior, then that report needs to be destroyed. And if anybody doesn't destroy it, it needs to be at least a third class felony, and that officer needs to have a peace officer license removed for life.
That escalated quickly.
No,
I was just thinking, if you're, how about this? If you're accused of anything, I mean, if you're in the lineup for anything over what, like if 9 times in a row they ask you if you were involved in a bank robbery at a different bank, then that's something to think about. But if it's like some kind of little misdemeanor, they ought to definitely expunge that out of there just every time that it happens, right?
Well, I mean, like I said, juxtapose this over what happened with the open carry guys. That's what pissed off the open carry guys. Was like, look, guys, we're no longer going to fly with police officers because all y'all are doing is y'all create job vehicles, and all we're doing is exercising our Constitution protects rights. So, I mean, I would hope that people can see both sides of that coin and say, yeah, it's probably not the best idea to every time you want to go out and you want to peacefully demonstrate or whatever, that you automatically get put on the list.
I agree. I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to bring that up. We're going to be joined in just a second.
Appreciate the call.
Hey,
thanks.
We've got to take a quick break. We'll address that with Sheriff Louderback and get his idea on that because
brings up a lot of interesting conversation.
Nobody's more lenient than Sheriff Louderback. No chance, right?
None.
Wow.
COVID forcing a lot of
100 years.
Yeah. No, but I mean, it's forcing a lot of organizations to change things up, and one of those is the Blue Bonnet Youth Ranch. Right now, this would be the time of year where the Blue Bonnet Youth Ranch is gearing up for the big celebrity showdown and dance in October, big golf tournament. They've had to put everything on hold for this year. It would have been their 39th annual. They're not going to be able to say that next year. It'll be the 39th, but it won't be the annual.
I bet you we claim it as an annual.
You might as well anyway. Yeah, we'll just put it there.
Claude Jacobs has been doing this so long, so well.
Yeah, but they still are in need of operating funds for the ranch. Since they began, over 600 kids have gone through the Blue Bonnet Youth Ranch, and I'm asking you and telling you to watch your mailboxes because they're mailing out a bunch of raffle tickets that you have the opportunity to purchase to help support the Blue Bonnet Youth Ranch. There's some great prizes in there, a private concert at your own home or any venue you choose, fishing trips, weekend getaways.
You singing at that concert?
I'm not singing at that concert, no. But
that raises the value right there. It
raises it way up. I mean, worth the price just for me not to.
Well, but folks, this is just indisputably one of the key events that Wade and Carter supports. Absolutely 100% behind the Blue Bonnet Youth Ranch. We participate every time we're included. We have a great time doing that. They've always been, it's just 100% transparent organization. Great, the Mo Bandy, Alan Shamblin, all the Jamie Freaky, all these
Red
great
Stiegel.
stars that come in.
It's just phenomenal.
It goes back to the golden age of traveling golf tournaments, the barbecue circuit. Yeah. So it's a great deal.
So get out there, watch your mailbox. There'll be plenty of ways. We'll be able to tell you other ways to support it as well. Also want to pass along a Hurricane Laura relief opportunity for you. 13102 North Navarro. That's the old Velocity Power Sports building. They used to say the big blue building on the north end of town. It's no longer blue. It's been painted a nice gray, and they've refurbished it a little bit. But Clifford Crump, avid listener, good friend of mine, Platinum Sounds DJ, they are accepting all sorts of supplies to take to a rallying point that'll be distributed to the folks that need it in Southeast Texas and Southwest Louisiana. So,
And very nice. The Cajun Navy's involved, and you've heard of them, and they do a good job.
some of the items they need: non-perishable food in boxes, or the items placed in boxes that can be canned or boxed goods. They need lots of water. They need blue tarps. They need fix-to-flat, roofing nails, bug spray, all the things that everybody brought to us 3 years ago after Harvey. Now we need to return that favor, get it back, get it out to the folks in Louisiana, because you'll recall a lot of folks from Louisiana sent stuff this way 3 years ago. So let's return the favor and help Clifford out. They're hoping to load up a trailer or two and head out tomorrow. And if they have enough stuff, they'll make a few trips. And not only to take it there, they help distribute it. Then they come back that night. So they're putting in a full day's effort.
Fantastic friends and a great cause.
Yeah.
So we want to reach out and help them. That's right there. If you're just going north, like towards Tractor Supply, or it's
Just
about
past
there on
there.
the right. Yeah. I'm fine. So let's get the sheriff in here, get him situated, let him get his mic where he wants it, while we tell you about Veracruz. Today's a great day to be at Veracruz.
Great day to be at Veracruz. It's Caldo Wednesday Eve.
Right, which means you can't get Caldo.
Can't get Caldo
But
today.
you could have like a taco salad. You can have a drowning enchilada, fajitas. They do a bistec. They do a steak that they do
You could
ranchero.
get carne asada.
It's all fantastic. The food's great. The folks are friendly. I'm chewing on my teeth there. Get in there and enjoy it. Razor IT Solutions. I reached out to JP Hull trying to see if he got some work that I had gotten wind of, but I haven't heard back. He does all kinds of stuff: website, Facebook development, brand development, analytics study, encryption provision. He does it all. Reach out to JP Hull and Razor IT Solutions. Ads and offer dealer.
Adsandoffer.com. The dealership's been around since 1926.
Yep, 94 years in Victoria. We're kind of speeding through that to spend time with Sheriff Louderback on some tough issues. Want to tell you that Ads and Offer for all makes and models. They'll do your paint, body, service. They do it all. Reach out, Gently Pre-Owned Vehicles. They do a tremendous job, and they just simply are Victoria's dealership. And then, of course, in your county as well, Sheriff, White Trash Services.
They won't speed through your neighborhood collecting
550-1826.
trash.
Nope, always abiding by the law, always have the nicest people working with them. If you call 550-1826, you will get a human being, not a press one now. So there you have it. So he doesn't want any fanfare. He doesn't want any to-do or ado. He just wants you to turn his mic on over there so we can actually talk to Jackson County Sheriff AJ Louderback.
Well, we had one police officer point out that there is no database of every police contact. So, as was expressed by the caller.
Well, there's the dark web database. They all have it, It's all down in there. Black Ops.
Good morning.
Morning,
Hello,
Sheriff.
sir.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm fine.
Tell us what's going on.
This morning.
There's a lot. There's a lot of fear among people. There's a lot of concern. We've talked about it here openly and often that we feel blessed that we don't have as much of that big city crazy turmoil.
Idiocy is the word I like to use.
Yeah, we call it idiocy. But first of all, how are you? How are things in Jackson County?
Doing good. Jackson County, doing well.
We had talked earlier when we always want you to come on, and I know you've been super busy. And we talked about, we wanted to get some of your thoughts just about things like what's going on with the Jacob Blake kid, what happened in Kenosha, some of these things. Number one, from 30,000 feet, how you see the mindset of the nation, and then also specifically dealing with those issues. And I know driving in this morning, we're bound to spurt a few thoughts. So whatever you want to open up with, we'll follow your lead.
Well, the view from the top, as far as the nation, from an outlook here, in our country, we certainly have some fear, and that's grounded in truth. So we clearly have some situations here in the United States which are easily criminal, and have been going on for some time. Portland is an issue that y'all have talked about for several weeks. We're now 90 plus days of insurrection there with a denial of federal assistance, which could probably clean that up in a day, if not 4 hours.
Right.
So, those things are happening, and those manifest fear throughout the nation. And then, of course, we have the Black Lives Matter or Burn Root murder issue.
Right.
However you want to get into that. But
In Portland on the weekend, the video of this was disturbing. You may have seen it, where guy starts yelling, "We got a Trumper! We got a Trumper!" And next thing you know, you hear a bunch of shots and the guys drop dead in the street. I mean, this gentleman was doing nothing other than basically outwardly showing his support for President Trump.
clearly he was shot and killed there. And of course, we saw very little media coverage about that, which, I always call the largest monster in the basement was mainstream.
Well, the interesting thing, the first headline I saw, Trump supporter and protesters clash in Portland. That
peaceful protest.
yeah, that was the first headline, and then
They
you
were
dive
just
into
exercising.
the story and you find out the guy was shot and killed.
They were
But-
just exercising their right.
But it was a headline that read Trump supporters and protesters clash. No, a guy was murdered in cold blood in Portland simply because he was outwardly showing support for President Trump. And the video certainly, in my opinion, backed that up if you saw it, because it is rather disturbing. "We got a Trumper here, we got a Trumper here," and then bang, 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 dead, simply from wearing that. They certainly do, don't they?
So what do we say to folks? The mainstream media, I think if you asked the majority of the networks, are you pro or con what's going on in Portland? They absolutely love this. They love it. It's easy content, and they're excited about the anarchy in Portland. And yet, I've had people that say, "Watch the news, man. There's nothing going on in Portland. That's just a small part of Portland. That's no big deal what's going on up there. Those people are just protesting."
Well, there's no excuse to be uninformed about Portland and other areas here in the United States that are undergoing civil turmoil. But let's move over to the Jacob Blake issue in Kenosha, which is probably of interest to many of your listeners. And this issue involves a black male who went to a residence there with some criminal activity had been going on. And this was a renewed sexual assault type situation that was going on, at least with one weapon involved in the form of a knife. Law enforcement was called there specifically, and there are no official law enforcement reports on that yet. So the investigative body has not spoken about the Jacob Blake shooting. It did result in Blake trying to be restrained there by law enforcement, made his way to his vehicle and was shot 7 times. Has some type of paralysis issue now. There's a weapon involved, but we don't know any of the investigative details from the police department there. So this sparked a new round of BLM type protests around the nation, and especially there in Kenosha, which leads us into the Rittenhouse issue with a 17-year-old who fatally shot 2 people and severely wounded in the right arm a 3rd. So the takeaway here that's really key, for people there in Texas and in Wisconsin is his age. So he has actually 6 felony charges that he's been charged with right now. And one of the most interesting is and the one that's garnered the most attention is his age, 17 years of age. One of those charges is possession of a dangerous weapon by a person under 18 years of age. So here in Texas, to correlate here where we live, you have to be 21 years of age by a handgun, 18 years of age, by a rifle shotgun or long gun. So you can purchase handguns here in the state of Texas through private sale. That's legal here in Texas. So we have to make sure that we keep all those areas covered.
You have to be 18 then to do that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, 18. So we also have some prohibitions about minors. In 17, we're a little different in our state, except you can be charged criminal as a criminal case here at 17 years of age in Texas. Most states are not that way. We're 17 years of age. Most states are 18 years of age. That's to be a legal adult.
Okay.
But there in Kenosha, that's what he's facing. And I'll tell you, there's two separate issues here that the public has to be aware of. And first off, he's not allowed to have this long gun there. But the other side of this, was he clearly acting in self-defense? And that, I think that's indisputable. From multiple attackers, some type of a fire issue that was thrown at him, whether it was a sack of fire or something, some type of burning issue, assaulted with the new weapon of choice by these peaceful protesters. It's a skateboard. We've had several shootings with skateboards involved here in the United States throughout this episode of these protesting. He was struck in the body and head area with one of those. He had a guy who tried to ninja kick him, who, had he been successful in that, possibly would have caused serious bodily injury or death, broken neck, any of those kind of things. He jumped through there to try to hit him. So we have to separate these issues out, because we have his age, but we also have the fact, was he acting in self-defense? He clearly was.
So then help me walk that back. I'm going to try to take the unpopular, I'll take the leftist side of this discussion. On one hand, we say, okay, so yes, he was absolutely defending himself. I agree with that. But he should not have been in possession of the weapon to defend himself. And given that he shouldn't have been in possession of the weapon to defend himself, he'd have to be crazy to be there unarmed. So wouldn't it have just been better if he just stayed home and played PlayStation? That's my question. Did he have the qualifications, being 18, legally possessing the weapon, to go down and protect property for those who were being abused in that area? Or did he kind of get a little too much dip on his chip? You see what I'm saying?
I understand. So in this case, and I believe one of his toughest charges is going to be the possession of a dangerous weapon by a person under 18. I don't really question why he's there, how he got there. Some of those details are not clear to me as to how he arrived at this location and what his purpose was.
Didn't we hear that his mother dropped him off? Now, I'm not joking about
Heard that. I've heard
that.
I've heard his employer owned a business and had asked him to come and help protect the business, but no, again, things that haven't been verified.
There that were protecting the car lot. But I haven't seen any factual data that that's exactly what he was doing or his purpose there. So, I believe that's going to be the strongest hurdle that he has to have to jump. So he's clearly, in many people experience with self-defense issues and weapons issues, he clearly was in direct jeopardy of serious bodily injury or death. So he,
particularly by the guy he wounded when there's pictures of him pulling a handgun. The guy with the skateboard, of course, is now being portrayed as a saintly individual.
He's getting his life turned around.
He's got a rap sheet. Well, the first guy he shot was a convicted pedophile.
I believe the 26-year-old who had the pretty egregious wound to the right arm has already publicly stated that he wished he would have killed him. And he was armed with a pistol.
Yeah. Thank you for making his self-defense case on that one.
Absolutely. So, we have. I think you have to separate these two issues here. Does Kyle Rittenhouse have some issues legally? He probably does. Because of his age and the thought process that went along with him being there in possession of the weapon.
The other lesson, Ash, is don't bring a skateboard to a gunfight.
Well, don't do that. They're not there to skateboard. Those
Well,
are
they're
there
to hit people with.
for weapons and to break things and to use as some sort of device for no good.
Yeah, you can break windows with it. You can break people's heads with it.
Oh, yeah. We've actually had some another pretty serious shooting where multiple people, which is a disparity of force issue, where you're assaulted by more than one. The disparity of force comes in several different areas. You may have elderly versus young. That's a disparity of force. So when we have numbers, more than one against one, in other words, if we have 3 people, 4 people who are attacking one person, that's a disparity of force. That becomes a self-defense issue in and of itself, and that also brings weapons into play and the use of weapons in that to defend yourself because of the disparity.
Well, and the interesting thing is, to me, he was running away every time.
Clearly trying to avoid problems,
Right.
in effect, running for his life. And I believe those issues, I think, are going to be resolved. I'm a little concerned about his issue with the weapon.
David Glass said, pretty accurate. Shot 3 times, hit 3 bad guys, no innocents harmed. Interesting.
I shot a few more than 3 times if you listen to the video on the first one, but yeah.
I don't think there's any argument there. I believe public opinion is certainly supporting Kyle Rittenhouse. I just think that you have to balance everything out here according with the law and what you got yourself into.
Tell me about this guy in San Antonio. You've heard me say before, if you don't have anything to hide, just comply with law enforcement. And if you feel like you've been mistreated, call your lawyer. I mean, that's fine. Say, hey, look, this is because now you assume everything is being videoed. You assume every word is being recorded. Just be polite, answer the questions, and move on. So this guy the other day in San Antonio gets labeled as, hey, looks like the guy we could be looking for that choked a woman. And the police pull over and say, hey, what's your name? I don't have to tell you my name. Right off the bat, to me, you're an idiot. What is his right? What is my right? If you ask me my name, what is my right other than to comply? Do I have the right to say, I don't have to tell you my name?
If you're the material subject of an investigation, then it's your name.
Of course, I wasn't involved in that. I had no idea. Right.
You get it later when you're booked in. But failure to ID for material representation of an investigation is a problem for us.
And then how do you feel about as you cuff me and I know that I didn't do this to this woman. So to make things, better for me as I'm getting in the squad car, I just go ahead and kick one of the officers in the face.
Separate charge.
Okay, I mean, not very brilliant on his part either. For an innocent guy, he's caused himself a lot of problems. I mean, if you're innocent, wouldn't you just identify yourself, stand there politely with your hands in plain sight and allow the officers to do their job because this woman's over there with, she's been choked. And then they say, hey, buddy, sorry, no foul. Take care.
Right now, we're dealing with a portion of society that is empowered to
not use common sense.
Right.
So, these are just some things, and we've gone through this before. This is not anything new that, in our business. Have we been demeaned before by the media? Certainly. Have we been the subject of intense scrutiny? Absolutely. Our methods are based upon compliance to the public. That's how we maintain control here.
Have your methods in any way changed with the current, Obama versus Trump? Did it change the way you run your office?
No.
That's what I always wonder is anything that happens, they want to blame it on President Trump. I just wondered if it's the constituency that has changed.
No, we were not supported by the Obama administration. In fact, we were attacked from day one. There was the Henry L. Gates issue, which was the beer summit issue.
Right.
On a legitimate call by law enforcement on a suspected burglary of a house, and and from that particular point on, we were the subject of a lot of demeaning attitudes.
And that's where Obama didn't exactly stand up for law enforcement.
No.
If you go up here before we take this break, BJ Nelson says, "Hey, my boy, go ahead, I want to be able to read it. I have a question. My boys always got their hunting license, and when they were 14, they got licensed to hunt alone. How can they legally be able to hunt at 14 if they're not supposed to carry a gun?" She said, of course, they're older now.
because there are lawful exceptions on when a juvenile can use a weapon, especially a long gun. So, and it also involves pistols. So and hunting is one of those. Hunting is an exception. Target practice, different areas that you have to take weapon for a lawful purpose.
Riot aversion may not be on that list. Hunting, right?
Actually, those are exceptions that are in our penal code.
There you go.
Our government code.
You got a minute? We take a quick break.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. So today, Uncle Mud's Barbecue. Get by and grab brisket, ribs, sausage, chicken, turkey. They've got it all
A
the
billion
side dishes.
sides. Best tea in town.
Be sure to think of them for your next catering opportunity. They do a bunch of them. They reach out all across. They do everything for the Wounded Warrior Project. They do it
for
all.
Warriors Weekend.
And the Wounded Warriors. Just made that up as I was
I know
going.
you did.
Warriors Weekend, which is bigger. I just keep, I stumble.
I don't know why you
It
do
was
that.
postponed
But
this
you
year.
do.
Uncle Mud's Barbecue. I do it just to give you something to talk about.
That's true.
Gray Barn Design. Reach out to Cheryl 920-6803. Let her plan your next memorable event. You've had events. Some weren't so memorable. Get Cheryl in there
It's
to help
because
you.
it's because you didn't hire Cheryl.
Let her help you. 920-6803. She'll help you make it a party to remember. Wint Services, Wint Electric, Wint Generators. It's generator season. Carl Wint is in the valley as we speak, representing Kohler, Cummins, Generac, Briggs and Stratton.
Just
They go
Stratton was
on
the
and
name
on
of
and
them.
on.
I think there's about 7 or 8 they
He's
carry.
got
We
them
just named
all.
half of them.
And he's also got a battery backup set up for solar panels. So now you can store energy during the day and use it at night.
And this isn't like the old days where they just had a stack or like a
No,
brick
no,
wall of car batteries to store all this stuff. These are small. They go on your wall.
Over the corner of
You
the
don't even know
garage.
they're there.
Over there next to the water softener, and then you've got a battery backup. And then, of course, USA Concrete Coatings. I saw an ad on Facebook today, showed this silver coating. I thought about the Dallas Cowboys. It was awesome. Antibacterial, antimicrobial,
Won't crack, won't chip, won't fade.
hides the cracks in your garage floor, and looks good forever. They do it all in one day. Give them a call. They'll come out. What did James Kerr say? One issue folks have with the Blake issue is why did the officer have to shoot him 7 times in the back? Couldn't 1 or 2 shots have been just fine? Heat of the moment to me, but I'll ask the sheriff. What do you
It's
think?
really subjective, though, James. I mean, this is the amount of force is what he should. The use of force and the amount of force are essentially the same here. So what James is talking about was this excessive force, and the key thing here, from our perspective, is we're trying to stop whatever behavior is happening. Those don't happen in a prescribed amount of rounds.
Right.
So that's not an issue. When we get involved in self-defense shootings of any kind here as a civilian or in law enforcement, it's not so much a round count issue that we're going to specify.
Stop the threat.
It is a stopping of the activity which is causing the deadly force to be applied.
Have you heard anybody say anything about what we know that Mr. Blake had a knife? We know we have determined that the reason he was there unlawfully is that he was probably the subject of a TRO involving those people and wasn't supposed to be there.
Or we may have had a felony at the time. We may have had a fresh felony at the time. So we may have been dealing with a felon who was trying to leave and who they were fighting.
And he had a knife.
And he couldn't. So, they couldn't restrain him and,
Couldn't tase him.
Whatever he was doing at the time, which caused the deadly force to be issued, that has yet to be talked about investigatively. Now, we can assume for purposes today that the officers were clearly seeing a weapon in use here, which caused the application.
I've seen pictures with the knife. I couldn't figure out. It looked like kind of a curved blade. He's got it up. I've seen him walking with the knife. I have to.
I'm not as convinced that's a knife just because it's a grainy photo and it's hard to tell.
Well, except that they say they recovered a knife at the scene. So I'm saying, okay, I'll go with that. But it's like I can see where he had something in his hand, and they said they found a knife. And you're right. I shouldn't put 2 and 2 together that way necessarily.
I think it's clear something was going on there.
But was he going to the car? Does anybody know, or this hasn't been released yet? Was he, was there another weapon in the car?
Well, some have said he's claimed to have had a gun in the car and he was going to go get it. I mean, I'm not sure I buy all that, but
Not clear.
You don't
but
get
here,
to just walk away, right? When they've got weapons drawn on you and they're telling you to stop and you go to the car and turn your back on them, I've got to assume as an officer who wants to go home that night that you're reaching for, and you've got to have something in there that gives you the courage to turn your back on me when I've got a gun in my hand.
Well, it's real clear for your listeners here. Conduct and behavior in association with law enforcement and the choices they make are where the problems arise. And when we have people who make bad choices with law enforcement involvement, then these are where these issues always come to.
and I've heard a lot of people, well, due process. If he gets arrested peacefully on the felony warrant that he had existing, and then obviously whatever charges for because he wasn't where he's supposed to be anyway, or he was where he wasn't supposed to be. If he doesn't resist, if he doesn't fight, if he doesn't try to get away,
He's out.
if he just puts his hand behind his back and he's taken away, we're not even having this discussion.
Al Sharpton get him out of jail. He'd be out of jail by now.
No, clearly. When we in these stricter cases, in this issue, we were called there. We're called there for a purpose,
Right.
and that is because something is going on there that people need law enforcement assistance for. And so when we arrive, and those decisions start cascading bad after bad after bad, and this is the outcome that we have here.
I guess what troubles me with the national media with this is we know for a fact he wasn't just happening by and tried to break up a fight, which was the initial narrative pushed by the national media. They haven't retracted that at all. In fact, it still seems to be what they're trying to push. He was the reason they were called.
Right.
The 911 call is pretty apparent on that. And that perpetuates a lot
I
of this
think, and you don't ever
garbage.
want to you always want your officers to be sharp and on top of their game and preserving themselves. But I joke with Ash about this. It's not funny when I tell Ash, if I were in charge of a staff of officers, say, the most important thing you can do is make it home tonight, and please, dear God, don't shoot anybody today. Can you just go one day without shooting somebody? And you got to wonder, though, in these heightened times, what mindset someone must have to say, I'm going to assert my right. I don't have to tell you my name. You're an idiot. You're an idiot to do that to a man that is going to win, whether he has to call backup, a SWAT team, an airstrike. He's going to win.
Drone strike.
I don't get it. I just don't understand the mindset of, you're the police and we're not going to take it anymore. It just doesn't work.
From the law enforcement perspective, we don't get it either. It's not like we don't have enough to do. It's not enough that people want to draw attention to themselves on a constant basis. It's not. We are actually employed. Our job, going to break it down, is to stop problems and try to control behavior which our society said is illegal. That's what we're paid to do, and so that's why we're here. And so, if we have less to do, in the case that Ash is talking about, where we're driving by and we see two people fighting, or we see some type of criminal behavior that's going on, are we obligated to stop that? To stop and interject ourselves in that issue? Yes, we are. And that's what we should do. That's what we've been hired and paid to do.
Bob Watley says, hey, why does it seem that tasers aren't as effective as they used to be?
I think they still are effective. I don't know that they're less effective today. But a taser is an electronic device, pretty expensive electronic device, I'll say. These things are 4 times as high as a duty pistol, for example. But they still are quite effective. There's been some issues with electronic devices, with health issues for folks, but we still employ them as a non-deadly force type of control tool. They're limited in range, they're limited in accuracy, and they're limited in some effectiveness as far as what a person may be on different types of drugs.
Super high.
But they're not a catch-all, end-all for all types of violent behavior.
Tell you what, you go back to the Hangover movie, and it's like ride the lightning. I mean, I've never wanted to be. Have you ever been tased?
No.
Okay. I've always wondered.
As taser training, we go through a dry stunning of that to see, but it's not, the cartridges aren't employed.
Man, I don't.
Goes out with a cattle prod in the knee once. Back of the knee, it's
not a good feeling.
kicked like a mule.
Jeff Fonseca says, "Don't tase me, bro." Now, Jeff Fonseca did say a few minutes ago, "Why doesn't the sheriff wear that hat on the golf course?"
Well, it's tough. You have to do that.
Right? Especially in Colony, the wind just blows it off.
Matt Ogre says, aren't you guys for law and order? Don't you all agree with the Constitution? Don't you all agree the SCOTUS is the highest court in the land? And Supreme Court says y'all are both wrong. Brown v. Texas.
I don't know what he's talking about there. I know that my man Matt Ogre is about as far right a libertarian as I've ever known in my life. He's like, just leave.
I had to look up Brown v. Texas. I don't know that one off. I'm not a law student. I don't know one off by hand, but I also believe just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something.
And that's called wisdom or common sense in some places.
And maybe I haven't had a whole bunch of negative run-ins with police, but I've never had an issue. If they're asking me who I am, I tell them who I am.
I think B.J. Nelson sums
I
up.
stand on my toes and I tell them I'm Brent Carter.
Right.
Then they think I'm 6'3", and then we're good.
It's like, oh, he's good. He's a good guy. B.J. Nelson sums it up and says, don't be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And if you get questioned, respect the peace officer.
Almost the advice my dad gave me.
Right.
Hang around with idiots, you're going to be considered an idiot.
Right.
Hang around people doing no good, you're going to get caught up in no good whether you're doing it or not.
And
he said, don't do it.
Happens on this radio
And if
show.
you do, don't call me to bail you out.
Right? That's what happened to you on this radio
Yeah,
show.
it happens all the time.
We'll have a lot of attitude in certain percentage of the population, but it's real simple, guys. I mean, it really is. Choices make a difference.
Yes, sir.
And it's life's about your choices that you make.
Well, but we've become a society too that doesn't hold individuals accountable.
Clearly.
A lot of victim status.
And at times on both sides of this issue. There's bad cops, and I don't know. We've had this conversation in private, and there's nobody that hates a bad cop worse than a good cop.
You know, we're continually trying to purge the system. I mean, everyone's not cut out for this business.
Right.
And sometimes it's our goal to help them find a new, more successful line of work.
No,
Now, see, Matt says, so the guy jogging was hanging with the wrong crowd. I didn't say that. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Well, that's kind of
That's
true.
probably true. If they're looking for somebody who matched his description, I would say that's probably pretty accurate.
And to take that a step further, Matt, just because he didn't have to tell them who he was, his day would have gone a lot better if he would have just told them who he was. And that doesn't mean the officers were acting inappropriately. When I ask you, hey, caller, what's your name? And you go, I'm not going to tell you my name. I might just go bye and hang up because I may not want to hear what you have to say. And that's kind of like my prerogative. If I'm an officer out there putting my life on the line and I say, hey, what's your name? Oh, I don't have to tell you that. Well, right then I've got some suspicions about your activity. I'm just trying to have a conversation.
Could it have been cleared up in today's day and age of technology with a simple take a picture of the guy, send it to the woman, see if this is the guy. She texts back, no.
That's we're not quite there yet.
Okay.
As far as it's doable, but it's not doable in a very reasonable amount of time.
Right.
So we're not there specifically. Can we find their vehicle registrations, hold some key? That's not necessarily the driver.
You need the iPhone 11 from the AT&T store. That's what you need. That would solve all the problems. Get a 3D shot of the perp. Well, Sheriff, as always, we appreciate you coming in. We got big plans for the day.
Just work.
We appreciate
both
you.
you guys.
Yes, sir. Thank you,
AJ.
Thanks for your support.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
Folks,
everybody
that's going
tuning
to
in
wrap
today.
us up today. And Sheriff Louderback's always good to come in and always very forthright. So